Hello, Oracles. Well, many of you have been asking how it is that I went from $75,000 in debt to a six-figure net worth. For me, I did it in 6 years. There's a lot of different factors that play into this: income, amount of debt that you have, lots of different things. But the formula to get yourself out of it is the same. Now, the biggest things that go into this are consistency. Just like everything else in life, you need to be consistent, follow a plan. Any mistakes you make, learn from those, gather wisdom, and then you take it from there, and then you keep on progressing and moving forward. So, today, what I'm going to do is break down for you guys the whole entire strategy that I used to get myself out of debt and now to that six-figure net worth. Everyone who is a member or a patron gets to see my whole entire plan on a weekly basis. I share that all with you, and I will be sharing the entire budget template so that you guys could just take that template and use it yourself. In the description down below, I do have a link to the video for the template that I used. You'll just have to follow that whole video and make it yourself. Either way, I wanted to provide that for you guys. So we'll get into all of this in just a minute. All right. So again, first things first, the most important thing is consistency. You're going to have a plan to follow. You just need to follow it. It's just like if you're trying to lose weight or get yourself into shape, you have a workout plan and your nutrition plan, just follow it. Sometimes you're going to fall off and you're not going to eat the right things. Just like sometimes you're going to spend some more money than you shouldn't be spending. And okay, cool, reel it back in. Just recognize what you're doing. But tracking is extremely important. That's one of the first things that you're going to be doing is tracking all of your expenses. You're never going to know how to fix the problem if you don't know what the problem is. So you need to track it. So the three things that I did to start right off the bat were create a spreadsheet or something to track your expenses. So for me, because I was in debt, my mentality is if I owe somebody else money, whatever money I have is not mine. So the only money that I can spend on me is the money that is going to be for things that I absolutely need. And the most important things that you actually need are going to be housing, transportation, and food. It's really it. If you have children, obviously there's other factors that play into it that involve them as well, but that is the only expense that you should be taking in. There should be no other frivolous expenses at all, because guess what? The reason you're in debt is because you spent money frivolously, and now here you are. So you have to stop the bleeding first. That is the most important thing. Tracking that is the best way to do it. So I used to use pen and paper for everything, and I'll show you guys what I was doing in the past for that, for getting myself out of debt reduction. But I will show you right now the template I am currently using for tracking all of my expenses. So again, this is something that I share with all of my members and patrons on a weekly basis as I update it, because I'm one of those people who likes to practice what I preach. Yeah, I'm not going to share with you guys anything that I think is going to be helpful for you if I haven't found use in it myself. So I found this very useful and handy. And so this here tracks all of my expenses, and it breaks it down by all of my different income sources. It breaks it down by where I'm going to be putting all of my money for investing. And it's going to break down all of my expenses to make sure I stay within budget. Now, I have created a full P&L, a profit and loss statement for myself. This is what businesses use themselves to track all of their expenses to make sure that they are going to be profiting or losing money on the end of the year. So that's how I create my budget. I will share that at a different time, but it's good to at least track your expenses as it is right now. So again, looking at my expenses here, my total income so far for this month is $4,500. I have invested $2,200 of that, and then my expenses are $1,900 on top of that. So this is how I track all of mine, and then I see what my free cash flow is. And that's important because as you're getting yourself out of debt, if you have any money left over at the end of the month, you can take a little bit and spend it on yourself and congratulate yourself and say, hey, let's celebrate with it. And then I like to take the rest of it and I put that into my debt. So quite honestly, I ended up during this never spent frivolously. I spent all of that extra money on my debt and just chipped away. And it's a huge snowball effect that's going to be significant and just speed up the whole process, because the sooner you are out of debt, the sooner you can actually start living your life the way you want. And so looking at this expense spreadsheet right here, it really is literally every single expense and piece of income that I have. Every single penny that comes in, I track it. Every single penny that goes out, I track it. It's very important because there's a lot of little things that add up over time that you may not be paying attention to. So I do this every single Saturday morning, and everybody's schedule is different, but every single Saturday morning is when I will be going over this entire spreadsheet and I update the entire thing. I then take it from here and I actually put that into a millionaire status, which I never had before when I was going through my debt reduction because I never thought I was going to become a millionaire. Once I become financially free and I don't have any debt, I was like, ooh, what can I do? Where can I take my net worth? And then I started tracking that. And again, the millionaire status is something I also share with my members and patrons on a weekly basis to track where all of my investments are to show where I'm growing all of my net worth and getting myself to become a millionaire. So now the next piece is, all right, we're tracking all of our expenses. We know where all this money is coming from. Now we have our debt. And we have the debt and the different things. Maybe it's a credit card. Maybe it's going to be your vehicle auto loan purchases. Maybe it's student loans. It's basically anything that you owe any money to that is not yours. My dad loaned me money as well to help pay off some of my debt, but he was one that I had to pay back. So I put him on that list as someone I had to pay back. So all of those things get listed. Now, for me, what I did was, and you'll see I've just got years and years of this here. This is all pen and paper. So years and years of all of this. And simply all I did on here was I wrote down a list. These are all the different people that I owe money to, credit card people. It's going to be everything. So I put that entire thing on the list. And all it came down to is then becoming a math problem. So I was like, I owe all of these people money. I'm going to be paying them off. This is how much I paid them off. And I track this every week as well. So every single week, I put down, here's everyone I owe, here's everything I owe them. And I just did a basic math problem at the bottom. Here's the total of what I owe when I'm in debt. I've now paid off this much this week. Cool. Now I'm down to this amount. And there were some weeks where it went up. Some weeks I just had other expenses the way it fell. So I was able to track all of that. But over time, it just chips away, chips away. And this is one of those things where when you really focus on it and you can see, all right, this is my plan, this is what I owe, you have to recognize what you need to do first. So I recognized it all, wrote it all down, and that was it. From there, what I ended up doing was, and this is something I will help everyone with also, so feel free to reach out to me in the comments. I have a whole website, oracleinvestments.com. I help people one-on-one individually to help them break down all of it. It's not financial advice. It's more like dad help, dad advice, because I did it for myself and I can share with you guys what my plan was and, kind of how to prioritize which bills to pay off first. Do you want to pay off the highest dollar first? Do you want to pay off the lowest dollar first? Do you want to pay off the highest interest first? There's a lot of different factors that I put into it myself because, paying off the highest one first is great, but I'm still paying minimums on all the others. And sometimes it felt like if I just paid off those lower ones first in a lump sum, I can then take that minimum payment and put it towards the bigger one. Or if I'm getting whacked with a lot of interest on something with like 22% credit card interest, maybe I want to knock that one down first so I'm not getting hit with as much interest. Lots of different factors that go into it, but again, we can work on that together if you would like. So I broke all of that down and I just did the math. And then what I ended up doing on a calendar, and you can do it digitally. I mean, I didn't own a, so just to show you that I was not, spending money frivolously, I didn't even own a computer for 12 years. My computer died and I did everything on pen and paper and everything else through my phone. That was it, keeping expenses to the absolute minimum. So again, paper and pen. I just had a calendar that I would print up at work and I would just, I got paid on Fridays. So I would do, for me, I got paid the same weekly. So it was easier for me. And I know some people have income that fluctuates. Maybe you get paid bi-weekly, maybe it's monthly. Whatever it is, you need to figure out the system for yourself. And again, that's something I can work with you guys on. But I figured out how much money I could spend every week on paying off my bills. So what I did was I put that on a Friday. So for instance, on here, I would have like, I owed Citi Card and Chase and Barkley. And I'd be like, okay, well, those are due on the 15th of the month. So I would make sure that prior to the 15th, because I didn't want to have a late payment on it and I didn't want to get hit with that because that's just more fees that I couldn't afford. I would make sure that usually the week before, and sometimes I had to adjust because as the weeks go on and months and the dates, it fluctuates, but you figure that out over time. But I would put down on here, all right, I have $700 coming in this week. I'm going to put 300 towards Barkley, 200 towards Chase, and 100 towards Citi. And then from there, I would be like, that's what's paid off. And I was initially using those one credit card that I had for all of my expenses because I wanted to get that money back. But because of the fact that I still owed it money, it was getting whacked with interest and it made no sense. So what I ended up doing was I went straight to debit card or cash only purchases because by doing so that way, I only had as much cash as I actually physically had to spend. So if I went grocery shopping and I was like, I got $100 to spend on groceries this week, guess what? I was eating late that week. That's just what it was. It sucked, but that's what I went through. And I dealt with that. But I made sure that all of my bills are paid off. And that's where the expense budgeting comes in as well. Because when you start looking at your expense budgeting, you can say, all right, well, I budgeted myself for $100 in groceries for this week, and I came in under budget at $90. Awesome. So I took that extra $10 and I just put it aside and was like, all right, well, we'll see how next week rolls around. Or maybe I was able to take that money and put it into more debt and pay off something else faster. It all is just a mathematical equation that goes on constantly every single week. That's all it was. Pretty simple for me to do. And again, I can show you guys one on one and explain it. But it was just put it down on a weekly basis. This is how much I have coming in. This is what I can put my debt towards. And then I just follow that sheet. So tracking in three different manners. Here's my calendar to know when I have money coming in and going out. Here is my mathematical equation to see how much I'm chipping away at my debt. And then here's my spreadsheet for all of my budget to show where the money is coming in and where the money is going out. Those three things alone were able to get me going from where I was, again, $75,000 in debt to the six-figure net worth that I have now. And my net worth now has been growing significantly. My members and patrons see that, and it's just it keeps on growing up. As soon as you get debt free, you're like, what do I do with all this extra money? Because like it was snowballing so fast, and that's the whole thing. Is like paying off my car. I was having like $30 here, $50 there, $100 here. When you pay one of those off, now it's like, all right, the $30 one is paid off. Now I can put that into another one. Now it's $80 getting paid into the other one. That gets paid off even faster. Now it's $180 getting paid into that bigger one. That gets all paid off. And then you just end up having all of this extra money. And when you finally sit down and realize it, and I'm like, wow, I was like putting like $600 a week into debt that I don't have to put into debt anymore. Now I have $600 a week that I can put into investing. And then when you start putting that money into investments, that's going to be a whole separate video. But when you put it into investments, now all of a sudden your money is making you money versus the other way around when you're in debt and your money is costing you money with interest. So when you can make that money get interest to bring you money in versus you spending more money on interest for somebody else, that is the game changer. That is the whole point of doing this and getting yourself out of debt. Now, one side note is when you have a mortgage, that there is gaining equity. So that is an equity type debt. So that one there, I don't always include in this. I didn't own any real estate. I couldn't afford it. So for me, that was not included in there. And if anybody follows Dave Ramsey's 12 steps, very, very big. That's one of the ways I got this whole entire thing set up. And I'll put that down in the description as well, is you can take a look at those 12 steps. And the 12 steps there are important. And there's a couple that I didn't follow because, like, again, I didn't own a house, didn't pertain to me. I went in a slightly different order as well to get them all done. But either way, following in whichever way works best for you still works. So I was able to get that all set. And then again, now I'm at a point where my money is making me money. Now, instead of spending $600 a week in expenses and different debts that I have, I'm now making a few $100s a month in interest from different investments that I have. I haven't even gotten to the point where I have real estate to have cash flow coming in. All of this money that's coming in from me is strictly from taking that money that was going towards debt and putting it into interest-bearing investments. So again, that'll be a video for another time, but hopefully this video today helped you guys out. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. I'll answer as many as I can in the comments here. Otherwise, like I said, one-on-one things, we can sit down and have a conversation over on Patreon or my members. Or again, if you want to set up a time slot on my website, oracleinvestments.com, go ahead and reach out there as well. And we can sit down and have an actual conversation versus going through messaging, and we can discuss it over video chat or however you want to do it, and figure it out that way for you guys. Because I know it's extremely important, especially during these times right now where inflation is super high, expenses continue to go up. It's important to make sure you get these things in line. So I hope this all helped you guys out. If you have any feedback or you want me to show anything different on here, please let me know. Otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate all of your support. Have a great one.